The Gravel Road by St. Elias. I worked the night shift for almost 3 years, so driving home at 2 or 3 in the morning wasn't new to me. You get used to the quiet roads, the empty intersections, the way the world feels like it's holding its breath while everyone else sleeps. That night, though, the storm changed everything. I clocked out at 2:17 a.m. The rain had already started before my shift ended. Heavy, loud, the kind that pounds against the building so hard it sounds like gravel hitting metal. Thunder rolled constantly in the distance, not sharp cracks but deep, drawn-out growls that you felt in your chest. I remember standing under the awning outside work, lighting a cigarette I didn't even really want, just watching the rain flood the parking lot. The yellow lights reflected off the water, turning everything blurry and unreal. My phone buzzed with a weather alert, severe thunderstorm warning, but I dismissed it. I'd driven through worse. That was my first mistake. I got into my car, turned the heat on to fight the damp chill, and pulled onto the road. Wipers on full speed, radio low. The storm swallowed everything else. Visibility dropped fast, and within minutes, the road felt narrower, darker. The main highway home had flooded before, bad drainage, so I decided to take the back way, a shortcut I'd used plenty of times. It shaved off 15 minutes and cut through farmland and woods before reconnecting near my neighborhood. There was only one part of that route I didn't like. St. Elias Cemetery. The gravel road that ran alongside it wasn't long, maybe half a mile, but it always made my skin crawl. Tall iron fencing, old headstones leaning at odd angles, some dating back to the 1800s. During the day, it was just quiet and forgotten. At night, it felt like something else. Still, I turned onto the road. The pavement gave way to gravel with a loud crunch under my tires. Immediately, my headlights seemed weaker, the rain thicker. Trees leaned over the road, branches clawing at the darkness. Lightning flashed, illuminating the cemetery fence to my right. Rows of headstones stretching farther back than my lights could reach. The storm intensified. Thunder cracked directly overhead, so loud it made me flinch and grip the steering wheel harder. Rain hammered the windshield so violently my wipers struggled to keep up. Water pooled in the ruts of the gravel road, and the car swayed slightly as I navigated through it. That's when I saw something ahead. At first, I thought it was a fallen tree branch blocking the road. Then it moved. I slowed instinctively, heart rate ticking up. Through the curtain of rain, my headlights caught the shape of a person standing near the edge of the road, just inside the cemetery fence. They weren't holding an umbrella. They weren't moving, just standing there. I remember thinking how strange it was. Who would be out here at this hour, in this storm next to a cemetery? Lightning flashed again, and for a split second, I got a clearer look. It was a man, tall, thin, soaked through, clothes clinging to his body. His head was slightly bowed, hair plastered to his face. One arm hung limp at his side. The other was raised, palm facing the road, like he was asking for help. I slowed almost to a stop. Every instinct in my body screamed, "Don't." Something about him felt wrong. Not threatening exactly, just off. But leaving someone stranded in a storm like that felt worse. I cracked my window a few inches, rain immediately spraying inside. "Hey!" I shouted over the rain. "You all right?" He didn't respond, didn't move. The storm roared around us, thunder shaking the ground. Water soaked my shoes as it splashed inside the car. "I can call someone for you," I said. "You need help." Slowly, unnaturally slowly, his head lifted. His face was pale. Not just light, but drained. His eyes looked dark, sunken, reflecting almost nothing from my headlights. Rain streamed down his cheeks like tears. His mouth opened, but instead of speaking, he pointed. Not at me, at the road behind me. A sudden chill ran through my spine. What? I asked, my voice barely audible over the storm. He took one step closer to the road. That's when I noticed his feet. Bare, muddy, bleeding. The skin looked torn, raw, like he'd been walking for miles over sharp gravel. Get back in the fence, I said, panic creeping into my voice. You're gonna get hit out here. He didn't react. Lightning split the sky again, brighter than before. And for a moment, I swear I saw something behind him, deeper in the cemetery. Movement between the headstones. Shadows shifting where they shouldn't. Then the man spoke. Don't stop, he said. His voice was hoarse, barely louder than the rain. Don't stop on this road. Before I could respond, another thunderclap exploded overhead, and the lights in my car went out. Everything went black. The engine stalled. My heart slammed against my ribs as I fumbled for the ignition. Rain drummed on the roof. My breath sounded too loud in the silence. I turned the key. Nothing. The man was still there. I could just make him out in the darkness, illuminated only by flashes of lightning. He was closer now, standing directly in front of my car. No, I whispered. No, no, no. I tried the key again. The engine coughed. Died. The man leaned down toward the hood, pressing his palm flat against it. His skin looked almost translucent in the lightning, veins dark beneath the surface. Drive, he said. They don't like it when you stop. Who? I asked, tears mixing with rain on my face. He didn't answer. Instead, he stepped aside and pointed again, this time down the road ahead. Another flash of lightning revealed something I hadn't seen before. Footprints. Hundreds of them, all over the gravel road. Bare footprints, leading in every direction. Some toward the cemetery, some away, some circling the road like they'd been pacing. And none of them were filled with rain. My engine suddenly roared back to life. I didn't hesitate. I slammed my foot on the gas, tires spinning wildly in the gravel before catching. The car lurched forward, spraying water and stones. As I passed the man, I glanced in the side mirror. He was gone. The road stretched ahead, but it felt longer now, like it was pulling me forward, refusing to let me leave. Thunder rolled continuously, almost rhythmic. My headlights flickered, dimming and brightening on their own. Then I saw something in the rearview mirror. Lights, headlights, following me. Relief washed over me at first. Another car, someone else on the road. But as they drew closer, I realized something was wrong. They were too high, too wide, and they weren't attached to a vehicle. They floated above the road, weaving slightly, like they were being carried by something unseen. I sped up. So did they. The gravel road curved sharply near the far end of the cemetery. As I rounded the bend, lightning illuminated the gates of St. Elias ahead. Massive iron doors, chained shut, and standing in front of them, figures, dozens of them. Men, women, children, soaked, pale, unmoving, all facing the road, all barefoot. My heart pounded so hard I thought I might pass out. The floating lights rushed closer behind me, and suddenly I understood. They weren't lights. They were eyes. I swerved, barely keeping control as the gravel turned slick with mud. The figures at the gate didn't move, but as I passed, every one of their heads turned in unison to follow me. The road finally transitioned back to pavement. The moment my tires hit asphalt, everything stopped. The storm faded to a steady rain. The floating eyes vanished. The cemetery disappeared behind me like it had never existed. I didn't slow down until I reached my neighborhood. I didn't sleep that night. The next day, I called in sick and did something I'd never done before. I looked up St. Elias Cemetery. Buried deep in old news archives was a story from the early 1940s. A bus carrying night shift factory workers had lost control during a storm and overturned on that very gravel road. The bus slid into the cemetery fence. Most of the passengers were thrown from the vehicle. Many tried to walk for help. None made it. Clocking out into the storm. I don't remember the exact date anymore. I just remember the rain. The kind of rain that doesn't fall, it attacks. Sheets of it slamming sideways, flooding the ground faster than drains can swallow it. Thunder so loud it rattles your bones instead of just your ears. That night, the storm had been there before we even clocked in. Me and Aaron worked the same night shift at a packaging warehouse on the outskirts of the city. Midnight to 4 in the morning. Same routine every night. Same exhaustion. Same jokes to stay awake. By 3:57 a.m., we were both standing at the time clock, soaked in sweat and dust, waiting for it to hit 4 o'clock. The moment the buzzer sounded, we grabbed our jackets and headed for the exit. When the loading bay doors rolled up, the rain hit us with a wall of sound. Aaron stopped dead in his tracks. "Yeah, nah," he said. "I'm not driving in that." I stepped forward and looked out. The parking lot was already half underwater. The yellow lines were gone, swallowed by rippling black water. Wind bent the nearby trees so hard it looked like they were bowing. Lightning cracked overhead. No delay between flash and sound. "That storm's sitting right on top of us," I said. Neither of us wanted to be on the road. Aaron rubbed his face and sighed. "There's a bar still open off Ridgeway. We can grab a drink, kill time. Let this thing pass." It sounded harmless. Responsible, even. We didn't know the storm wasn't going anywhere. The bar sat alone at the edge of a service road, its neon sign flickering weakly through the rain like it was barely hanging on. Inside, it smelled like old beer, wet clothes, and something metallic, like coins or blood, though I didn't realize that until later. There weren't many people. A few regulars slumped at the bar. One couple arguing quietly near the bathrooms. The bartender glanced up as we walked in, nodded, and went back to wiping the same glass he'd already cleaned 10 times. We took seats near the middle, shaking rain off our jackets. That's when Aaron leaned in close. "Bro," he muttered, "look to your right." I did. 2 girls sat in a booth against the back wall. They stood out immediately, not just because they were beautiful, though they were, but because they looked untouched by the storm. Their hair was perfect, their makeup flawless, clothes clean and dry, like the rain had parted for them. One had long dark hair and eyes that didn't blink much. The other was lighter, softer looking, with a smile that felt practiced. And both of them were looking straight at us. Not glancing, watching. Aaron didn't waste time. He never did. He walked over, introduced himself. The girls smiled instantly, shifting to make room. A minute later, he waved me over like we were old friends. Their names were Sophia and Lena. Their voices were calm, confident, comfortable, Conversation flowed effortlessly. No awkward pauses. No forced laughter. They laughed at the right moments, leaned in just enough, touched arms casually like it meant nothing. They asked where we worked, where we lived, what time we got off. But when we asked about them, the answers were vague. Just out, Sophia said. Passing time, Lena added. They weren't drunk, not even tipsy. That should have been my first real warning. An hour passed. The storm outside didn't ease even a little. Water streamed down the windows like the building was underwater. Thunder rolled constantly. No breaks, no silence. Aaron suggested a nearby hotel, cheap, close, dry. The girls exchanged a look. Hotels farther than you think, Lena said. Sophia smiled. Our place is closer. I felt a tightness in my chest I couldn't explain. Something about the way she said it felt rehearsed. But Aaron was already nodding. So was I. The rain intensified the moment we stepped outside. Visibility dropped to almost nothing. Wipers struggled. Water pooled fast on the road. We didn't make it far before the street toward the hotel flooded completely. Aaron slowed to a crawl. That's when Sophia spoke up from the back seat. There's another way, she said. Turn here. The road narrowed. Trees closed in. Streetlights disappeared. We passed one house. Then nothing. Just darkness and rain. The gate opened automatically when we pulled up. The house beyond it was massive. Too big for the area. Lights burned in every window. Music thumped faintly through the storm. Aaron frowned. This doesn't look like an apartment. Lena smiled without hesitation. It's our boss's place. Before we could ask anything else, the front door opened. Men stood inside, waiting. The moment we stepped inside, we were surrounded. Hands on shoulders. Drinks in our hands. Laughter. Music louder now. There were at least 7 men in the living room, all drinking, all smiling. This is the boss, someone said. He shook our hands firmly. His eyes were calm, measuring. Everything felt friendly. Too friendly. Food appeared. More drinks. We didn't notice the taste. Sweet, bitter, metallic. The room began to sway. My thoughts slowed. My body felt heavy. Lena took my hand and led me upstairs. The last thing I remember is her grip tightening. Then, nothing. I don't know how long I was gone. There was no dream, no darkness, no drifting in and out. It felt like someone reached into my head and flipped a switch. Off. The next thing I knew, I was choking. Not gasping awake like you do from a nightmare, but choking, like my throat had forgotten how to work. Cold air burned my lungs. Rain hit my face hard enough to sting. I tried to sit up and slammed my head into the roof of the car. That's when I realized I was in the passenger seat. Waking up, my vision came back in pieces. Gray sky, rain streaking sideways, fogged windows, then pain. My mouth tasted like chemicals. My tongue felt thick. My head pounded so hard it made my vision pulse. Aaron. My voice came out cracked and weak. He was slumped over the steering wheel, seatbelt still on, face pale, eyes half open but unfocused. I reached over and shook him. Nothing. Panic surged through me. I shook him harder. Aaron! He groaned. Slow. Deep. Like it took effort just to make sound. His eyes blinked a few times before they focused on me. What time is it? He muttered. I looked around. The dashboard clock glowed faintly. 8:07 p.m. My stomach dropped. No, I whispered. That's not possible. We had gone to the bar around 4:30 a.m., which meant we had lost nearly 16 hours. The car. The rain was still pouring. Same storm. Same heavy sheets like the sky hadn't taken a breath since last night. I tried my phone. Nothing. No phone. My pockets were empty. I checked the door. Locked. Aaron reached for his pockets, then checked the center console. Empty. Wallet gone. Keys still there, but nothing else. That's when Aaron tried to start the car. The engine turned, but the car didn't move. He stepped out into the rain, then swore loudly. All 4 tires were destroyed. Not slashed. Shot. Clean holes punched through rubber. Rims scratched deep. Whoever did it wasn't rushed. They wanted to make sure we weren't going anywhere. Where were we? We stepped out into the rain, soaked instantly. The area was unfamiliar. No houses. No streetlights. Just trees and road stretching into nothing in both directions. The storm muffled everything. Even our voices sounded swallowed. My head throbbed. My body felt wrong. Heavy, slow, like my muscles were lagging behind my thoughts. I don't remember anything, Aaron said quietly. Neither did I. The last memory either of us had was going upstairs with the girls. That was it. The day that never happened. We stayed by the car for hours. At first, we thought someone would come back. They never did. We tried flagging down cars. None passed. The rain never stopped. Time blurred. Hunger set in. Thirst burned our throats. The sky stayed gray the entire day. No sunrise. No sunset. Just endless rain and cloud. Felt like the world had stalled. By nightfall, again, we were shaking from cold and exhaustion. Aaron leaned against the car, breathing shallow. "We can't stay here," he said. "We'll die out here." So we walked. The road felt endless. Mud sucked at our shoes. Rain soaked everything. My legs ached. My vision blurred from dehydration. Every sound made me flinch. Branches snapping in the wind sounded like footsteps. Headlights in the distance turned out to be reflections on wet leaves. After what felt like hours, maybe 2, maybe more, we saw a glow. A sign. Flickering. Gas. I've never felt relief like that. The gas station. The gas station looked like a mirage. Lights buzzing. Doors unlocked. A tired clerk behind the counter who looked up sharply when he saw us. We must have looked insane. Soaked. Shaking. Mud-caked. Ice-sunken. "What happened to you guys?" he asked. Aaron leaned on the counter. "Please," he said. "We need to call the police." The clerk handed us the phone without asking questions. The police call. We told them everything. The bar. The girls. The house. The lost time. The car. The officer on the line sounded calm. Almost bored. "Do you remember the address?" "No." "Any names?" "Only first names." "Did you consent to being at the location?" That question stuck with me. "Yes," I said. "But we didn't consent to whatever happened." Silence. "We'll be in contact," the officer finally said. They never were. What we learned later. Weeks passed. Then months. No follow-up. No investigation. When Aaron pushed, called again, showed up in person, he got warned. Not officially. Quietly. A cop pulled him aside and said, "Let it go." That's when we started asking around. The bar. The house. The names. We learned the truth piece by piece. That house belonged to someone powerful. Drug money. Protection. Connections. People didn't go missing there. They got released. And the ones who didn't weren't found. Why did they let us go? That's the part that keeps me awake. They took everything. Money, phones, IDs. They could have done worse. But they didn't. Which means we were never the target. We were just practice. Or bait. Or lucky. I don't know which is worse. They didn't call us back. Not once. At first, I kept checking my phone out of habit. Then remembered I didn't have one anymore. When I finally replaced it, every unknown number made my stomach tighten. Every knock on the door felt heavier than it should have. Aaron tried harder than I did to get answers. I think that's because I was already convinced we wouldn't. The aftermath, the official report went nowhere. No suspects, no follow-up interviews, no request for security footage from the bar. When Aaron went back to the bar a week later, it was closed. Not out of business closed. Just empty. Lights off. Windows dark. Sign gone. Like it had never existed. That's when the fear changed shape. The realization. It wasn't just that the police wouldn't help. It was that they couldn't. Or wouldn't. We started connecting dots we hadn't wanted to see before. The girls never drank much. They controlled where we went. They pushed us away from public places. They brought us somewhere isolated but safe for them. They weren't victims. They were scouts. Aaron said it first. They were hunting. I didn't argue. Small signs. We didn't talk much after that. But strange things kept happening. Aaron swore he saw the same car parked across from his apartment for 3 nights straight. Different plates. Same make. Same color. I found muddy footprints outside my door one morning, washed away by rain before I could be sure. Once, late at night, I thought I heard a woman laughing outside my window. Soft. Familiar. I didn't look. Why we stay quiet. People always ask why we didn't go public. Why we didn't tell the story louder. This is why. When Aaron mentioned it to the wrong person, someone who knew someone, he got a message that same night. No threats. Just a sentence. Be grateful you walked away. He moved 3 months later. I stayed. The rain. Here's the part one never tell people. Sometimes when it storms like that night, real heavy rain, the kind that floods streets and blurs headlights, I swear I smell that house again. Alcohol. Perfume. Something bitter underneath. And every now and then, I'll see a woman standing under an awning or a streetlight, completely dry while everything else is soaked. Watching. Smiling. Waiting for someone else who thinks the rain will pass. Final thought. We thought the storm was the danger. It wasn't. The storm was just cover. And somewhere out there, those girls are still working nights. Still smiling. Still inviting people somewhere closer. Because not everyone wakes up in their car. Some people never wake up at all. Rain knows your name. The rain had been falling since sunset. Thick, relentless. The kind that blurred the world into streaks of gray and made every mile of road feel lonelier than the last. Ethan locked the gas station doors at 2:17 a.m. Another night shift finished. Another night survived. The neon sign buzzed behind him as he shoved his hands into his jacket pockets and headed for his car. He was 23, exhausted, and carrying a kind of tired that sleep never seemed to fix. For months now, his life had felt hollow, ever since her. His last relationship hadn't been violent or dramatic. It had been worse. Quiet, controlling, slowly draining. She'd isolated him from friends, made him feel small for wanting simple things, conversation, warmth, reassurance. When it ended, she left without closure, and Ethan was left with nights like this, empty ones. That's when he noticed her. She stood under the edge of the gas station awning, rain splashing just inches from her boots. Tall, striking, dark hair plastered to her face, eyes wide and glassy like a deer caught in headlights. She looked out of place. "Excuse me," she said softly, her accent thick. "Please, I need help. My phone, no service." She held up a dead phone. Her hands were trembling. "I just arrived," she added. "From France. For modeling job." She stumbled over the words, throwing in a few broken French phrases that Ethan didn't understand but nodded along to anyway. She gestured to two large bags sitting at her feet. Ethan hesitated, but something about her vulnerability tugged at him. Maybe it was the rain. Maybe it was the way she looked so alone. Or maybe it was the quiet part of him that had been desperate, aching for someone to talk to, someone who might see him. "You can use my phone," he said finally. Her face lit up instantly. Too instantly. She pretended to struggle dialing, shaking her head in frustration. No answer. No signal. She sighed and looked at him again. "Where I am going a very far," she said. "I don't know this place," he offered without thinking. "I can give you a ride." She smiled. Slow. Grateful. Almost relieved. When Ethan entered the destination into his map, his stomach tightened. 3 hours away. The rain hammered harder now, drumming against the windshield as if warning him. He hesitated, then cleared his throat. "I don't mind," he said, forcing a smile. "It's late anyway." She climbed into the passenger seat. For the first few minutes, the drive was quiet except for the rain and the hum of tires on wet asphalt. Then she started talking, asking about him, about his job, his life. No one had asked him things like that in months. He told her about the gas station, about the night shifts, about the relationship he was still healing from. She listened closely, nodding, touching her hair, laughing softly at the right moments. Too right. 45 minutes in, the storm worsened. Visibility dropped to almost nothing. Ethan slowed the car, heart pounding. "I think we should stop," he said. "This isn't safe." She leaned forward suddenly, pointing into the darkness. "I remember this road," she said confidently, her accent thinner now. "We take here," she added. Ethan glanced at her. Something was off. Her English had improved. Dramatically. Smooth. Natural. Like someone who'd been speaking it for years. "You said you just got here," he said carefully. She smiled. "I learn fast." The road narrowed. Streetlights disappeared. Abandoned buildings crept out of the darkness. Rusted fences, broken windows, silhouettes of places forgotten by time. "My stomach," she said suddenly. "I need restroom. Please, just a moment." Before Ethan could respond, she grabbed one of her bags and stepped out into the rain. Minutes passed, then more. Rain soaked the windshield. Ethan checked his mirrors. His chest tightened. "She's gone," he muttered. That's when the headlights appeared behind him. 2 men stepped out of a truck, faces hidden under hooded jackets. They approached slowly, hands visible, but tense. "You see a girl?" one asked. "She's missing." Ethan's pulse spiked. She was just here," he stammered. "She got out of my car." The men exchanged glances. "We saw her leave your vehicle," the other said. That makes you the last one with her. Ethan's instinct screamed. One of them moved closer. Too close. What you got in the car, man? He asked quietly. Ethan didn't answer. He floored it. The tires screeched, mud spraying as the car lurched forward. The men shouted behind him, headlights chasing him through the rain as he tore down the road, heart slamming against his ribs. He didn't stop until the road opened back into civilization. Only then did he reach for his phone. It was gone. His blood ran cold. In his rearview mirror, standing beneath the flickering streetlight miles back, he saw her, dry, clean, smiling. She raised his phone high in the air and waved. The rain swallowed her whole. And to this day, Ethan still wakes up some nights to the sound of rain and the memory of a smile that never meant to be saved. I took the gravel road home after night shift. I worked nights for almost 5 years, and if you've ever done night shift, you know how it messes with your sense of reality. The world feels wrong at 3 in the morning. Too quiet, too empty, like you're moving through a place that isn't meant to be occupied at that hour. That night started like any other. I clocked out at 2:41 a.m., shoulders sore, eyes burning from staring at screens too long. Outside the building, the storm had already taken over. Rain slammed into the asphalt so hard it looked like the ground was boiling. Thunder rolled continuously. Not sharp cracks, but long, deep rumbles that vibrated through the walls. The parking lot lights flickered as I walked to my car. Wind pushed sheets of rain sideways, soaking my jacket within seconds. I remember thinking I should wait it out for a bit, let the worst of it pass. But exhaustion has a way of convincing you that getting home faster is always the best option. I got in, started the engine, and sat there for a moment listening to the rain pound the roof. My phone buzzed with a weather alert, severe thunderstorm warning, possible flash flooding. I tossed the phone onto the passenger seat and pulled out. The main highway home was usually fine, but I knew it flooded easily during storms like this. There was a back route I sometimes took, mostly gravel, cutting past a stretch of abandoned industrial buildings from an old quarry operation that shut down decades ago. I didn't like that road, but it was shorter, and that night I didn't want to spend another minute awake. I turned off the main road about 10 minutes later. The pavement ended abruptly, tires crunching onto gravel. My headlights felt weaker instantly, swallowed by the rain and darkness. Trees leaned inward from both sides, branches swaying violently in the wind. The storm intensified. Thunder cracked overhead so loudly I flinched, gripping the steering wheel tighter. The rain was so heavy my wipers couldn't keep up, even on the highest setting. Water pooled in the uneven gravel, tugging at my tires as I drove. The abandoned buildings came into view about a mile in. Even during the day, they were unsettling. Concrete shells with shattered windows, rusted metal frames, and collapsed roofs. Nature had been reclaiming them for years. Weeds burst through cracks in the ground. Vines crawled up the walls. Old warning signs hung crooked, their lettering long faded. At night, in a storm like this, they looked like ruins from another world. Lightning flashed, illuminating the structures in stark white for a split second. I caught glimpses of graffiti, broken machinery silhouettes, and wide-open doorways leading into pitch-black interiors. I slowed slightly. I don't know why. I didn't see anything at first, just that familiar, uncomfortable feeling of being watched. The gravel road narrowed as it passed directly alongside the buildings. On the right, the largest structure loomed close, its outer wall crumbling, chunks of concrete scattered along the roadside. That's when I saw the shape ahead. At first, I thought it was debris, maybe a fallen sign or a piece of metal blown into the road by the storm. Then it moved. I eased off the gas, heart rate ticking up. In my headlights, a figure stood near the edge of the road, partially sheltered by the overhang of one of the abandoned buildings. Person. They were standing still, head down, soaked from the knees down where the rain blew in. Their upper body was mostly dry under the broken concrete awning. No car, no flashlight, no movement. My first instinct was irritation. What idiot is standing out here in a storm like this? My second instinct was fear. I slowed to a crawl and cracked my window an inch. Rain immediately sprayed inside. "Hey!" I called out. "You okay?" The figure didn't respond. Lightning flashed, brighter this time, and I got a clearer look. It was a man, middle-aged, maybe, thin, wearing a dark jacket and jeans that looked stiff, like they'd been wet and dried too many times. His hair was plastered to his face, obscuring his eyes. One of his arms hung strangely at his side. The other was raised slightly, not quite waving, more like pointing downward. "Do you need help?" I shouted. Slowly, he lifted his head. His face looked wrong. Not monstrous, not deformed, just exhausted in a way I'd never seen before. Skin pale and tight, eyes sunken deep into their sockets. He looked like someone who hadn't slept or eaten in a very long time. "You shouldn't stop here," he said. His voice was flat, almost drowned out by the rain. "I'm not stopping," I replied quickly. "Just checking. Are you hurt?" Another thunderclap shook the air. The man flinched, glancing toward the buildings behind him. "They come out when it storms," he said. I felt a chill crawl up my spine. "Who does?" He didn't answer. Instead, he stepped closer to the road. That's when I noticed his shoes. Or rather, the lack of them. He was barefoot. His feet were black with grime and streaked with dried blood. Cuts crisscrossed his soles, some fresh, some old. Gravel clung to his skin. "You need to get off the road," I said, my voice tight. "I can call someone for you." His eyes met mine for the first time. "They already came," he said quietly. Before I could respond, lightning struck somewhere nearby, blindingly bright. At the exact same moment, my dashboard lights flickered, then went out. The engine sputtered, died. The sudden silence was terrifying. Rain hammered the car. Wind howled between the buildings, producing a low, hollow whistle that sounded almost like voices echoing through the empty structures. I twisted the key. Nothing. My heart pounded so hard it hurt. I glanced up. The man was standing directly in front of my car now, illuminated by lightning flashes. His breath fogged faintly in the cold air. "You have to go," he said urgently. "They don't like it when cars stop." The buildings behind him seemed darker somehow, as if the shadows were thickening. With every flash of lightning, I thought I saw movement. Figures shifting behind broken windows, shapes darting just out of sight. "Please," I whispered, "just step away from the car." The engine suddenly roared back to life. I didn't think. I slammed my foot on the gas. The tires spun in the gravel, fishtailing slightly before gripping. The car lurched forward, passing right through where the man had been standing. I checked my mirrors. He was gone. The road stretched ahead, but something felt wrong. The storm intensified again, thunder rolling continuously now, almost rhythmic. My headlights flickered, dimming and brightening without reason. Then I noticed something in the road. Footprints. Bare footprints pressed deep into the wet gravel. Dozens of them. Hundreds. They crisscrossed the road in chaotic patterns, leading toward the buildings, away from them, looping back on themselves. And none of them were filling with rain. My stomach dropped. I sped up. The buildings continued along the road longer than I remembered. The gravel seemed endless, my tires humming loudly as if I were driving faster than I actually was. That's when I saw the lights behind me. At first, I thought it was another car, headlights cutting through the rain. Relief washed over me. Then I realized they were too high, and too close together, and moving wrong. They swayed slightly, bobbing up and down as if carried by something tall. I pressed harder on the gas. So did they. Thunder boomed overhead, shaking the car. Lightning illuminated the road ahead and revealed more figures. They stood between the abandoned buildings now. Men and women, some wearing old work clothes, others in uniforms that looked decades out of date. All soaked, all barefoot, all watching the road. As I drove past, their heads turned in perfect unison to follow me. The lights behind me grew closer. I could see shapes now, tall, hunched silhouettes moving just beyond the reach of my headlights. Their limbs looked wrong, too long, bending at strange angles. My chest tightened. My hands shook on the steering wheel. The gravel road finally ended in a sharp curve leading back to pavement. I took it too fast, tires skidding dangerously before catching. The moment my tires hit asphalt, everything stopped. The lights vanished. The figures disappeared. The storm eased to a steady rain, like someone had turned down the volume on the world. I didn't slow down until I reached home. I didn't sleep. The next day, curiosity and dread got the better of me. I looked up the abandoned quarry buildings. Buried in old county records and archived news articles was a story from the late 1970s. A chemical storage facility on that site had been hastily shut down after reports of unsafe conditions. Years later, during a severe storm, several night shift workers were sent back inside to secure loose materials. A flash flood hit. The road washed out. The buildings partially collapsed. Rescue teams found no survivors. Locals reported strange sightings for years afterward. People seen walking barefoot along the gravel road during storms, warning drivers not to stop. Vehicles stalling near the site. Footprints appearing overnight and vanishing by morning. The last line of one article stuck with me. Authorities advise motorists to avoid the area during severe weather, citing unexplained incidents and hazardous conditions. I quit night shift a month later. I take the long way home now, and whenever a storm hits after midnight, I still think about that man, standing under the broken awning trying to warn me, because I don't think he was trying to scare me. I think he was trying to save me.